600 horsepower and more from the Ford DFR behind him. The next out is the little Italian Pierluigi Martini, who is in 4th position on the grid at the present moment after yesterday's qualifying. There goes Jean Alesi, the Frenchman, one of the sensations of 1989, 14th on the grid, and I'm quite sure he'll be higher up than that when this afternoon's session finishes. And they're the only ones on the circuit at the present moment. There's the lineup at present after yesterday's qualifying session. Prost, some 0.3 of a second faster than Senna, and Senna even the last 60 seconds of practice. So, Sala, a man who has had his problems during 1989, his teammate Minardi has just gone through to start a lap, and the important thing from the point of view of the Minardis and one or two other runners is that they are on Pirelli tyres which have very good qualifying characteristics. The good years have tended to be much better during the races. Well, they haven't tended to be, they have been much better in the races this year, but when the conditions have been right for Pirelli, they have been outstandingly good, and they are right here at Adelaide. It's a street circuit, it's slower than the quick ones, hasn't got the fast sweepers that places like Hockenheim have got, and that's where the Pirelli tyres pay off.
Yes, things are very quiet on the circuit at the moment, because after an hour and a half yesterday morning, with an hour of qualifying yesterday afternoon, and another hour and a half of free practice on the circuit this morning, most of the teams are pretty much arrived at the setup with the car they've got, so they won't be fiddling with the cars very much. And this hour will be purely about the tactics, because the only thing that counts is your one quickest lap. And with the sticky qualifying cars, they last certainly only really at their best for one lap, and then they start to overheat. And in fact, soon after that, they blister and lose grip badly. But they're very sticky for the one flying lap. The point being, though, that they are looking for gaps in the traffic, and there's the McLaren pit, and they're preparing Ayrton Senna's car there. He's getting ready to go out, but having got ready, he will probably sit in the car, and then they will observe what's happening on the circuit and try and go out when there's as little traffic as possible.
There's Nigel Mansell, and while we're watching him, I'll tell you a little true story about this morning. Nigel's teammate, Gerhard Berger, had problems with his Ferrari, as a result of which he finished up 30th out of 30 this morning. He damaged his car. He wanted to go out in the spare car, which had been allocated to Nigel Mansell. The Ferrari team manager said, sorry, Gerhard, you can't use that. It has a special engine in for Nigel Mansell. Gerhard Berger is joining McLaren next year, and Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, popped his head round the back of the Ferrari garage and said, Gerhard, you can borrow my spare McLaren if you like. Needless to say, he didn't. There is Gerhard Berger's car being readied after the problems he had this morning. And at the present moment, we know from our timing monitors that nobody has improved his time. They're still building up to racing speed. 5 minutes of this 60-minute session have gone. The conditions, I always say, are perfect when they are, and they really are absolutely excellent now. They're not quite as good as they were yesterday, though, because of the heat. And here we are, looking backwards from the Brabham of Martin Brundle. There he is. And a rear-mounted camera gives you an incredible impression of the speed that a Grand Prix car will do. We're being touched along by a Judd V8 engine that produces about 640, 650 horsepower. He's gone round racetrack hairpin, the second gear one, now into paddock turn, which is swirling away behind us, left-handed, building up to about 240 k's, round the right-hander into Foster's hairpin, second gear. the ground without damage, and the reason they want to allow it to drag along the ground in places where it is bumpy is that they want the ride height, that is the gap between the bottom of the car and the top of the road, to be as small as possible. There's the Stag Hotel disappearing in the distance. We go round the right-hander, sparks striking, now building up to the fastest part of the circuit. That is where Nigel Mansell had his tyre explode in 1986. There's a bit of fabric or something blowing there. And now, having gone up to about 290 k's, back to racetrack hairpin, and into the left-hander again.
That appears to be a bit of a gearbox or engine breather pipe flapping around at the back of the car. No, it's not alive. We've just had a message to say it's the camera cable. So it's the aerial from the camera.
So, there we are. Martin Brundle, fast lap, backward-facing camera, and there's a lot more to come.
Track has had a bolt shear off his race car. The observers and marshals recognised it coming off the track, coming off the car, and he has been asked by his pit to come in and have an examination carried out on the car in case it's something vital. So practice continues, qualifying continues. It's very warm here. Nobody has yet beaten their times of yesterday, but I can expect a lot of hot laps to come in. Alain Prost still on the pole position as of yesterday's times, as you can see them listed there. But I think we're going to see fireworks as time progresses.
You're watching Pierre-Henri Raphael in the monumentally unsuccessful Real, the German car. The Frenchman drove earlier this year for the Coloni team, which was equally unsuccessful, and he took his sponsorship money and said, I'm going to Real, and he went, and things have gone from bad to worse. He qualified only for the Monaco Grand Prix earlier this year, in which he failed to finish, and that was in a Coloni, and since then he has failed to pre-qualify 8 times, and since he joined the Real team, he has failed 6 times to qualify, because his smart move, he thought, was to leave the Coloni team, which had to pre-qualify, and join the Real team, which, thanks to the fact that Christian Danner, the German, who has since been fired by Real, had scored some points, did not have to pre-qualify. Well, all he did was to move from not pre-qualifying to not qualifying. And I don't think he's going to do so today, sadly for him, because he was 30th and slowest in yesterday's qualifying 60-minute session. Here's a man who's going to qualify, no doubt about that. Nigel Mansell, who, after a lot of work since yesterday afternoon's unsuccessful session, in which he was only 16th on the grid, has moved up to 5th fastest this morning, despite the fact that he and Nelson Piquet made violent contact and shattered the rear wing of Mansell's Ferrari, and it didn't do Piquet's Lotus much good either. Now, I'm interested that Nigel Mansell has opted to come out early in the session. It's a 60-minute session. We're only 13 minutes into it at the present moment. And there is news from Alan Jones, who is with Riccardo Patrese in the pit lane.
Thanks, Barry. Well, Riccardo, like a lot of other drivers that are in the top teams, you're not out at the moment. Why is this?
Well, I'm waiting for the best opportunity to get a good lap time, and I think the track should improve during the section, so because of that I'm waiting a little bit. I don't think today is very easy to improve yesterday's time, because the temperature is hotter, and the temperature of the asphalt is very delicate to performance. So I think it's going to be very difficult to be quicker than yesterday, but I will try, of course, but I wait 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then I go out to have two sets of qualifiers, one after the other.
Riccardo, do you think there could be a little bit more rubber on the circuit, which might make it a little bit quicker?
I don't know. I think, first of all, when you stop for 1.5 hours, there is some dust on the track. It's better that some cars, they clean the track. But about the rubber, I'm not so sure, because if you look the time of the pre-qualifying on Thursday, where the track was very dirty, it means that the temperature makes more influence than the rubber on the track. I mean, the first day on Thursday was quite cool, and they got in the 18, I think, the Pirelli and also Allio with Goodyear. And after that day, the temperature was going higher and higher and higher, and today is the hottest day during qualifying, so maybe the temperature makes more influence for performance than the rubber on the track.
Okay, Riccardo, thank you very much. Back to you, Murray.
Riccardo Patrese thinks that the higher temperature may make it a lot more difficult to go faster today. Well, I think we are soon going to know, because Nigel Mansell there needs to go a lot faster. He's only 16th on the grid at the moment with a time of 1 minute 19.525, complaining yesterday of an inability to get any grip. Now, the fastest time we had yesterday was Prost, 1:17.4. You can see the time building there as Nigel Mansell comes up to the close of the lap, and it's certainly a lot quicker than yesterday for him. 1 minute 18.7, and that will move him up to, I think, 7th position, because he is nearly 2 seconds faster. Yes, Mansell goes up, as I say, back to 8th position on the grid, and with 15 minutes finished, 45 to go, it's Prost, Senna, Boutsen, Martini, Nannini, Patrese, Modena and Nigel Mansell 8th.
Yes, it will be interesting to see as the session unfolds whether the track is quick enough today, because it is undoubtedly hotter than yesterday, and that normally makes the track slower, but of course there's more rubber down on it, so, and it's very difficult to predict. But we'll see. It may well be that the high temperature we've got today will mean that for the quick men who had their cars well set up yesterday, they'll have to work very hard to improve their time. But of course, it's second day and it's the final qualifying, so everybody's giving it absolutely 110%. Or will be, but at the moment, people are sitting on their hands. Mansell is the only person who's really had a go at improving his time so far. Most people who have been out really for reconnaissance purposes rather than just to have a look at the track and they suss it out, warm themselves up. Ayrton Senna is done his bit, preparing, and there he is, just getting in his car. But of course he may sit there for a while, waiting, watching the times of the others on the monitor screen they'll show to him, and deciding also, and he'll be told by the rest of his team roughly how many cars are out on the track, because the fewer that are on the circuit at the time when you go out and want to do your time, the better, of course, less chance of being held up by a car moving slowly ahead of you when you're on a quick lap.
Senna waits, and there is Pierluigi Martini, the Italian, who is fourth fastest on the grid as a result of yesterday's time, 1 minute 18.043. There is Andrea De Cesaris, who is in his Solara, the Italian. He's quite well down by, well, no, not too bad, come to think of it. He's ninth fastest yesterday. He's on Pirelli tyres. We're talking a lot about tyres because they are going to be crucially important today and tomorrow, particularly on this circuit. The only man who has improved his time so far with 18 minutes out of 60 completed is Nigel Mansell, who has moved up from 16th place yesterday to 8th position today. Off the circuit has gone Bertrand Gachot in the second of the Reals.
In fact, at the back of the field, I think René Arnoux, I just checked the time here. Yes, René Arnoux has also improved his time, which has got him into the race for the time being. He's got up to 25th fastest. Remember, it's the top 26 who start the race, and we've got 30 cars vying for those 26 spots on the grid. So Arnoux, at the moment, has got himself into the race.
Here's a man to watch, Alessandro Nannini, the personable Italian who won the Japanese Grand Prix 2 weekends ago, driving this Benetton Ford. And the interesting thing about this combination is that Nannini has behind him the new development Ford V8 engine, which he used for qualifying extremely well in Japan, and is trying to do the same thing here in Adelaide, knowing how important it is to be well up the grid. It has more power, but they are not totally happy about reliability yet, and it is their intention to use it only for qualifying. So Alessandro Nannini, one victory in Grand Prix racing. He's finished second. He's finished third on 2 occasions this year. 41 points in his career. A man who started his competition career on motorcycles, actually, and then went on to become a rally driver, driving a Lancia Stratos, before joining the Minardi Formula One team, which used the turbocharged Motori Moderni engine, which really was not capable of getting the job done. But even so, Nannini demonstrated that he had an enormous amount of talent. And it's there, we're back again with Martin Brundle's camera, and you'll be back with us soon.
Grand Prix of Australia, and the man that we all expect to go for it in these few minutes that are left, those 40 minutes that are left here, will be Ayrton Senna. Now, can he do it? Can he pick Alain Prost for this pole position? He's going out now. I suspect he's not on his qualifying tyres. I suspect he's in race tyres to get himself into the mood, to get the balance of the car back, to find out if the temperature is playing up in any way. The car will be set up with the right amount of fuel in it for a qualifying lap so that you can get the feel of the motor car. So that's going to be what we're looking for there. Now, let's go down to Barry, who's in the pits.
Yeah, Jackie, I was just talking to Alan Prost, and he's standing in the garage watching the television, and he said that he'll be going out in a couple of minutes' time, and the reason he hasn't gone out as yet, because there's a lot of traffic on the road, and he's just waiting to see what times other people are putting up, and he's going to go out, and he said that he thinks it'll be very difficult to improve upon the time, because the temperature, track temperature is a lot higher than it was yesterday, so he's just going to hope for the best. Over back to you, Jackie.
Well, thank you very much, Barry. You can see Ayrton Senna's driving a bit harder. He went right over that curve. I think it means that at least he's trying a little bit, Murray.
Yes, I think we have to be honest and say that most people expect Ayrton Senna to take pole position from Alain Prost, because the Brazilian has a quite uncanny ability to pull out a really fast, blindingly fast lap when he has to. And the pressure is really on him now. He wants that pole position for psychological and practical reasons. You can see the time building. There is the time to go for, 1:17.4, and it is now Ayrton Senna in pole position, 3/10 faster than Alain Prost.
Yes, and that will be his first set of qualifiers that he's used, and I think this afternoon he's opted to get this pole position for both sets of tyres to be qualified, because they were new tyres he came out on with the labels on, and he'll be very pleased with that in these hot conditions. And also, just ahead of Senna, J.J. Leto went out, and the young Finn, who just joined the Onyx team a couple of races ago. There's Derek Warwick in the arrows. We're looking from his onboard camera as he goes round. Yes, and Leto has improved his time down to 20th place on the grid, but he in fact went a lot quicker than that in the untimed session this morning. In team practice, he was over a second quicker than that and was 6th fastest this morning. So the young and very talented Finn has been very impressive so far. So Warwick's building up to speed now.
While I just look at Derek Warwick here for a moment driving around there, may I just speculate the fact that the performance just achieved by Ayrton Senna, to me, is quite remarkable, because in fact that was his first fast lap of this final hour. He's been out of the car a long time. He went out on fairly fast tyres, but to switch it on that quickly, James, is quite a remarkable act. This is why the man is so special.
Exactly, absolutely right, because the other thing is, Jackie, as you know, he also has to produce that lap at a speed that he can't practice all the time. And, of course, that is a new record pole lap here from feet to pole time that Berger did 2 years ago with the help of a lot more power with a turbocharged engine. But certainly to get into the car stone cold, do one slow lap, because he can't do a hard lap for the first half of it because he overheats his qualifying tires then. He has to bring them in and only do the last couple of corners quick and then just go for it flat out. It's very difficult to do, but it is the thing that marks the really great Grand Prix drivers, because all the really top ones can always produce this one lap anytime they need to. And if you go down the grid to the less talented drivers, that is one of the big differences between the really talented drivers and the lesser mortals.
And there is one of the really talented drivers, Alain Prost, knowing that he has lost pole position. Putting on his gloves, out he will come. He's been waiting for a break in the traffic. I wonder whether he's got one, because there are a lot of people out on the circuit, as you can see, as we watch Derek Warwick go round. And we are now in the 27th minute, coming up to halfway in the session, looking at Andrea de Cesaris, with Ayrton Senna in pole position, now 0.3 of a second faster than Prost. And as you've just heard from Jackie and James, it was an outstanding achievement of Senna's to go faster today in the heat than he was able to go yesterday. Alain Prost faces the same challenge, with Thierry Boutsen still in fourth place. The Cesaris that we're looking at is still ninth. Alain Prost eases out of the comparative gloom of the pit into the bright sunlight of the pit lane. And he will build up to racing speed. Got a completely new set of Goodyear tyres on his McLaren Honda. He stops momentarily so that the marshals can check that his tyres have got the number 2 painted on the side of them. Each driver is only allowed 2 sets of qualifying tyres, and they are all marked before the practice session begins, and the driver thus has to stop to enable the marshals to make sure that he's got the right tyres on. And they know from the colour of the paint. Berger is there, you can see that. He has been into the pit as J.J. Leto comes out. Berger is just joining the track, and he will be well fired up after the Ferrari's refusal this morning to let him use the spare car, which has a special engine in it for Nigel Mansell. And I have no doubt that Gerhard Berger, who after all won here in 1987 and has got a victory and 2 second places behind him this year, will be just as determined as Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell, particularly in view of the fact that Berger's joining McLaren next year, to demonstrate that he is the fastest.
Well, there you see Berger is certainly on the limit, riding right up, using the curb there, catch the car. Hard on the brakes now, back into the twistier part of the circuit. And it looks like he's aborted that lap, possibly. He seems to slow it down then.
James, the question of those curves always worry me, and I'm expecting to see a major accident occurring by the overuse of those curves because of those wide tyres and the characteristics of the radial tyres that exist today. It's very easy to hook a car up on the edge of those curves, as did Nigel Mansell in Japan last year. And it's really a folly to use them too often because there's little or no suspension left there, and it can produce a very erratic behaviour in the car.
That's absolutely right. Very often, if you hit those curbs, certainly if you try to fight the car as you're hitting it, the car behaves very strangely indeed, goes all over the place. And it is certainly a risky thing to do, to use them and use them a lot. And basically, you have to be ready and let the car float, and let the car go on its own. And that looks like...
It's Philippe Alliot, the Frenchman, in the Lola Lamborghini. Gerhard Berger in the background with the yellow flashes on his wing is in 12th position on the grid with yesterday's time. And yesterday's time for Gerhard was 1 minute 19.238. He's got to improve on that. Apart from Ayrton Senna, the only man amongst the top runners to improve so far is Nigel Mansell. Alain Prost there, looking for a clear track in front of him is coming round to start what is undoubtedly going to be a very quick lap. So we've got two of the really fast men on the circuit at the moment. Alain Prost, world champion of 1989. There he goes across the line. Now, is this going to be his first try on his first set of tyres? Well, he doesn't look as though he's going all that fast to me. He's just gone round in 1:18.099, which is well down on yesterday's time and indicative to me that he's not yet on his fast lap. And I'm waiting to see where Gerhard Berger is, for that matter, as Prost, who is second on the grid at the moment. There's Berger. He was obviously unhappy with something about the car, which will have been readied after the problem he had in this morning's 1.5-hour pre-session. The times are recorded, but they do not count for the... Oh, you can see he's not... The body language there, the shrug, the wave of the hands, the eyes looking upwards seem to indicate to me that Gerhard Berger is not at all happy with the car, with the way the car is going. He's in 12th place now. His time today was 6 seconds slower than yesterday. Nigel Mansell is in 8th position on the grid at the moment. 2 cars at his disposal. Out he comes again. He's gone faster once. There is a limited life for tyres in qualifying. Adelaide is not as tough on the tyres as it was last year when the cars had turbo engines developing some 850 horsepower. Less power, therefore less wear this year.
Well, interestingly enough, with just over half an hour, over half of the session gone, in the top 20, only 2 drivers have improved their time over yesterday. That's Senna, who of course has gone to the front, and Nigel Mansell, who we would have expected because he didn't have a very good time yesterday.
Nigel Mansell comes out of the pit. He's starting a lap. Join us soon.
To go down Brabham Straight, a very long straight that gets him up to around 290 kilometres per hour. Ayrton Senna, if you're just joining us in this telecast, has just grabbed pole position from the time set yesterday by Alain Prost, and there you can see it on your screen. Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian, is still in 3rd position with the Williams car, the newly designed Williams. Then Martini, the sensation of this race, is 4th fastest. Now, the Williams team have not yet been out. There is our latest update because Nannini has grabbed 3rd position with a time of 1:17.762, driving the Benetton with the new development Ford engine as we look at Nigel Mansell coming on from a quick lap, we think, as he comes round. A wonderful camera position. Look at this. Look at him riding the curves. You're looking at Nigel Mansell driving on the limit. This is what racing drivers are paid the large amounts of money for. Reputatively, in his case, $8 million for the 1990 season coming up. And now he's going to earn it in roughly about 1 minute and 17 and a bit seconds if it's fast enough. Are the Ferraris quick enough this weekend? We'll find out now, Murray.
Not so far, they're not. Nigel Mansell, 8th fastest after improving on yesterday's time, 1:18.774, and that is 1.6 seconds slower than Ayrton Senna's pole time, which he's trying to beat now.
And he's chosen a good time to go onto the track because there's not a lot of traffic about. He's had a clear lap so far, but this may well be the last chance for Mansell, because I have a feeling this is his 2nd set of qualifiers. He's been out earlier, and he only did a 1-lap run, which looked like his first set. So coming around the final turn, onto the start-finish straight. And it improves his time, and it moves Mansell up to 6th. 1:18.313. So 6th place for Nigel Mansell. He's improved it a bit, but he would have liked to have done better.
I would suggest that may well be the fastest time that you'll see out of Nigel Mansell. Right now, let's go down to Alan Jones in the pits with Derek Warwick.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Well, Derek Warwick, driving one of our camera cars this weekend, has been out, so I'm going to ask him what conditions were like vis-a-vis yesterday. The conditions this afternoon have got much worse. Obviously, it's a lot hotter now, so therefore the track temperature is a lot higher, and that makes it slower anyway. But that aside, they've done a parade here of about 30 or 40 cars, and unfortunately what they've done is it's brought all the stuff from the outside of the circuit onto the racing line, and it's taken us a little while to clear it. So really, I think it's going to be a mad dash at the end. That's why you're seeing times slower than this morning. So you think towards the end of this session, everyone will be out going for it on their last set. Yeah, and that's the problem with qualifiers, because you don't get a second chance. You get one lap, bang, and that's it. If you get bolt, everybody's going to be out there. It's going to be a heavy 15 minutes at the end. Okay, thanks very much, Derek. Back to you with the commentary.
Well, what Derek Warwick has said, and there is his teammate Eddie Cheever in the arrows, identical to that of Warwick out on the track. What Derek Warwick has said underlines the brilliance of Ayrton Senna, who improved on his yesterday's lap time by 0.6 of a second. Alain Prost, conversely, has gone slower on his first set of tyres than he went yesterday. He's just going out on the circuit now to have another try for pole position. We are 40 minutes into the session, two-thirds of it completed, 20 minutes to go. There is Senna. Well, Senna's done this many times before, gone out, achieved pole position, stupefied everybody, and then calmly gone out again and knocked another big chunk off the pole position time that he had just put up. He seems to have this ability of being able to concentrate all his energies and thinking to an incredible extent, and to get absolutely the last ounce of performance out of his McLaren Honda. He leads now on the grid, fastest man, 40 minutes completed, and he is 0.3 of a second faster than Prost, with Prost yesterday's time. Nannini, and there is Alain Prost. He's going out very soon. The temperature and the excitement is rising. Nannini is in a fine third position, excellent, with the development Ford engine in his Benetton. He's pushed Thierry Boutsen in the Williams Renault down to fourth place. Riccardo Patrese, Boutsen's teammate, is fifth. Pierluigi Martini, who was fourth after yesterday's session, is sixth now. And so Prost, by the time you come back, will be out on the track, and Senna will have completed his lap.
Set, and he's trying for yet a faster pole position. Ayrton Senna from Brazil, he was held up by the starter at the beginning. He was quite enraged by it. Now he's on the track itself.
Yes, yesterday's time was 1 minute 17.712. You can see that there is very little of the lap left. Alain Prost is still in second position. There is the time to beat. 1:17.188, and then we'll know the answer to it in about 5 or 6 seconds. 14, 15, 16, and Ayrton Senna stops the clock at 1:16.665. That is a new pole position time, and as you can see, it is 0.8 of a second faster than Prost.
Yes, truly exceptional lap that, Jackie, wasn't it? Senna just seems to be able to produce it, and he timed it well because he got a clear lap, only passed one car, and that was his friend Gugelmin, who duly got out of the way.
And down in the pits, I think Barry has got Alain Prost with him.
Well, no, I don't have Alan with me. He's sitting in the car, and he's got his second and final set of qualifiers on. And he's got it all to do now, because 0.8 of a second, Murray, as you know, is an absolutely monumental amount of time. And a lot of people are saying coming in that you've got to be really lucky to get a clear lap, and obviously that was what Senna did. So I'd hate to be sitting in Prost's shoes at the moment. Back to you, Murray.
Yes, I guess I would too. Prost still second with nearly a second, and Gerhard Berger is having his Ferrari pushed back, so he's obviously stopping again and has got to come back to the pit. Meantime, Pierluigi Martini has improved his position. He had been pushed down by Alessandro Nannini, but he's now higher up than he was yesterday, as Gerhard Berger gloomily, frustratedly and probably angrily walks away from yet another broken Ferrari. And now it's Martini in the Minardi up into third on the grid. Senna is in pole position for the 42nd time, 0.8 of a second ahead of Alain Prost. And Alain Prost is at the moment just 0.2 of a second faster faster than Martini, third on the grid, but Alain Prost's time was a Friday time. He has still not improved on his time yesterday. Ayrton Senna certainly has done so. Non-qualifiers at the moment are Jonathan Palmer, who is 27, Louis Sala in the second Minardi, who is 28, and the two Reals, who are fated again not to make it, and Nicola Larini, the Italian in the Ostello, which he makes go much faster than it wants to, is currently in 11th place as Jean Alesi on the left. Number 4 goes past Riccardo Patrese, who's building up to speed, and is passed also by Emanuele Pirro. The session now only has 13 minutes now. Thierry Boutsen is one of the very few who have not been out to create a new time. Riccardo Patrese has, and Boutsen is the only one who hasn't had a Saturday time so far in the top 20. And of the top 20, the ones who have improved are Ayrton Senna, who has gone up to pole position, Pierluigi Martini, who is now third, Nannini, who is now fourth, Riccardo Patrese, who is sixth ahead of Nigel Mansell, seventh, Nicola Larini, that we have just been looking at, who is now in 11th place with an improvement on yesterday's time. And the biggest improvement in terms of placing is Emanuele Pirro, who has gone up to 13th position on the grid from 20th yesterday. This is Riccardo Patrese. On Sunday, he will be driving in his 192nd Grand Prix. Very much a record. He's in the FW13 Williams with the Renault V10 Evolution engine behind him. They have 3 different types of engine here at Adelaide, and Patrese is in 6th position, and he is 1/10 of a second slower than his teammate Thierry Boutsen, who is on yesterday's time and has yet to go out. Riccardo Patrese. Well, you can see that he's really trying. Watch the car on the bumps. See the way the side pods flare out to accommodate the radiators. Is he going to lose time? No. Very clean pass there. It was Boutsen, who is now out, who moved over and let him through. Whoops, and Patrese goes very wide over the curve. Passes Jean Alesi. He will have lost a little time there. Not much momentum will have been lost, but maybe 1/10 of a second or so will have disappeared that he might have had in hand. Absolutely on the ragged edge is Riccardo Patrese, trying to improve on his 6th position, and in order to do so he needs to go faster than 1:17.791, which is Boutsen's time. And he fails to do so. 2/10 of a second off, and I would expect that to be due to the fact that the circuit is hotter and therefore slower than it was yesterday. And news from Barry Sheen in the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm downstairs here with Ayrton. Ayrton, incredible 16.6, so that's 8/10 of a second quicker than Alain Prost.
So far, it's not finished yet, not over, so of course I had a very quick lap. It was not a good, well-driven lap, you know, it was a bit rough, and I didn't get the tires to work properly at the beginning of the lap, and as well the brakes. But given the circumstance, was the best I could do, and now it's down to the other people to do what they can as well. We have to wait the end of the session, see if anybody can beat our time or not.
If, say, for example, if Alan goes out and betters your time, will you go out again?
No, because we have today 2 sets of qualifying tires. They are only good for 1 quick lap. Yesterday I was blocked in that quick lap, so my time was not a good one yesterday. Today I had no traffic. I was able to do a clean lap, and was a good lap. The car was better too. So I'm satisfied. I have a good run, and if somebody else can do better, they should deserve both.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks very much, Ian.
Very well done to get Ayrton Senna after a hot lap like that. I'd have to speculate for those at home that that was a 29-year-old man you were looking at. I think he had more years on his face than one of 29. The other speculation I would make is the fact that he said there were so many things that were wrong with his car during that incredibly fast lap. If everything was right, I hate to think what Speedy might have done. But nevertheless, another observation might have been that the only man really ready to threaten him for pole position is most likely to be Prost, and he wouldn't mention him by name. He said the other people, and that's reflective of what is happening this weekend between those two very great and talented drivers. But what a performance he just put up to grab the pole at a time that I would say threatens your money with Alan Jones, Murray.
Yes, Ayrton Senna, as usual, making his triumph sound like a disaster. Magnificent pole position. And as you say, Jackie, Alain Prost with 8/10 to gain, I think is in a pretty hopeless position. It looks like Senna for the 42nd time. Martini is still third on the grid with only a few minutes left to go now. 8 minutes left to go in the 60-minute session. You're looking at Thierry Boutsen, who is fighting to improve his 5th place on the grid. His time yesterday was 1 minute 17.8 in round figures, and Nannini, who is just placed in 1 minute 17.76. And Prost is now, as you can see, motoring gently out of the pit lane to attack Ayrton Senna's time of 1 minute 16.665, as Boutsen, seemingly not happy, rolls into the pit. Prost rolls out, his tyres have been checked, but he doesn't roll out, he sits there, now he moves away, and I think we're really going to see some action now, but as ever it will depend on the luck of the man who is out there in having a clear track in front of him. Ayrton Senna has done what he had to do, he has used his 2 set of qualifying cars. There is no life left in either of them now, so there is no point in him even thinking of going out again. I noticed that he said the other person had yet to go out. Well, the other person is now out, but he's out on a very hot track, and he's out with the knowledge that the supreme qualifier has done it yet again. And the supreme non-qualifiers at the moment are Jonathan Palmer in 27th position, who is some 3/10 of a second off the qualifying pace of Rene Arnoux, who is last in at the moment. Sala, the Spanish driver, hasn't qualified, and neither have Gachot or Raphanel.
Prost now starting to build up speed. He would have taken the first half of this lap very slowly, so it's not because the qualifying tires don't need a lot to get them hot. It's just the last 3 or 4 corners to push them hard then. If he starts too early in the lap, by the time he finishes his quick lap, they will be past their best. And the timing is essential, but now he's getting them hot, and it's just under 6 minutes to go in the session. So, this is Prost's one shot to get near Ayrton Senna. We don't think he's going to get very close to it. Just a slight knocking of the left front there, little puff and smoke. No, he doesn't use all the road here to get back on the line for the left-hander. Prost, as usual, very smooth.
The cleanness of his driving, James, I think the lack of great curb use, again, is a hallmark of Prost's driving. When he does a very quick one, seldom is it actually visible as a super-fast lap, whereas Mansell and Senna do become spectacular.
Absolutely. But I think possibly that is reflected in the fact that Prost isn't quite as quick. He's got a slow car there, but that's Mansell letting him through. Mansell quite rightly lets him through. He doesn't hold Prost up. And but Prost certainly can go very, very quick without looking quick at all, and as you see there, he's keeping the car beautifully smooth.
Looking at our clock on our screen. It doesn't look like he's going to do it from what we've judged from seeing Ayrton Senna at the same part of the track on the stopwatch. Let's watch for it.
17.635. No, and that doesn't even improve on his yesterday's time. So that pretty much means it's all over as far as the front row of the grid is concerned.
Well, Alain Prost this afternoon will probably go out, get his golf clubs and go out to Royal Adelaide like he and I did yesterday to play some golf this afternoon. He was amazingly relaxed, and there's Nigel Mansell, incidentally, trying to get it on, and he's probably on a quick lap. But Prost has this great ability to switch off and stay away from his motor racing, something that not every racing driver can do.
Yes, very much the opposite to Ayrton Senna, who is totally involved. He lives it every waking minute and probably dreams about it in his sleep as well, and he's immensely intense in that he's always thinking about the car, always trying to improve it. Prost gets the job done and switches off. But come the race, Prost will be going for it tomorrow. This is qualifying form we've been talking about, and in the race Prost is as fast as Senna, or just about, and for sure they will be battling it out tomorrow. Prost, each one really badly wants to beat the other.
Indeed they do, and tomorrow is going to be the clincher, the last Grand Prix of 1989, when Prost, who is world champion, will be wishing to demonstrate that he has every right to be world champion, and Senna, who is not, but was last year and regards himself as having been cheated of the championship this year, will be equally determined to not. Walks away on the inset looking not at all unhappy with himself. With now 2.5 minutes to go, Eddie Cheever is our host around the Adelaide circuit in his camera-equipped arrows, and he'll be carrying a camera tomorrow, as will his teammate Derek Warwick. And at the present moment, Warwick is in 19th position on the grid, so we're going to see a lot of cars in front of us. Cheever, that we're with now, is 22nd on the grid, so we're going to be tending to see cars in front rather than cars coming through, and that's Derek Warwick into the pit lane. And now, 2 minutes to go, Ayrton Senna has achieved the 42nd, I apologise to him, the 42nd pole position of his considerable career. That is Joe Ramirez talking to Alain Prost there, who is going to be in second position on the grid. And Ayrton Senna's pole position today is his 13th of this year out of 16 races. Everyone except 3 have been Senna in the front, and that equals his 1988 all-time record. 26 pole positions in 2 seasons. Amazing. Down to racetrack hairpin for the last time with Eddie Cheever, and over to Barry Sheed.
Yeah, Murray, I'm standing down here with Alan. Alan, you went out and gave it your best. What happened?
The car was not right like yesterday. I think it's only because the temperature changed and the track condition changed and the qualifying tires. In this condition, it's very difficult for me to make them work, and I can't make work the front tires, and then I have some wheel spin problem also. There's nothing to do. I have fatigue. I think I could improve my time, but I could not do the pole. I think the grip was not good enough for me.
Well, you're on the front row of the grid, so it's, you need to make a good start.
Yeah, exactly. It's most important. But the rest will be not only the start, but for sure if I do a good start, then it will be very important anyway.
You'll be more than happy.
Sorry?
I said you'll be very happy if you make a good start.
Yeah. Last year I was in the same position, and then I did a good start, and I won the race quite easy. But I hope it'll be the same. You know, as I said this morning, the car is very different in the race condition and qualifying. Things should be okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan. Back to you, Murray.
Well, while Barry Sheed has been talking to Alain Prost, this is what has happened. Here is Eddie Cheever coming out of the pit lane and losing it and shattering the camera and shattering the motor car too. Eddie Cheever, in his arrows, completely loses it, throws the steering wheel away in absolute disgust with his arrows blocking the track, and that was 1 minute before the end of practice. The red flag has gone out. Glenn Dix is standing at the end of the pit lane. Here's a replay. Goes round to the left. The back of the car swings round. Hits the concrete wall on the edge of the circuit. The debris fencing protects the spectators. And you can see that the transmission, the gearbox, the suspension of the arrows are completely destroyed. Look down on it from above. Eddie Cheever is out of the car. You can see the marks on the ground. I wonder if something locked up. I'm hypothesizing. Jackie.
No, I think he just made a mistake. There's his steering wheel lying on the track. He got out of his car, ran with the steering wheel, then dropped it before jumping over. He threw it out of the cockpit of the car, but he then jumped over the wall and got away. It looked to me like the car understeered, and there we can see it. He goes into the corner. He's now on understeer. You can see the front wheels. He's just running short. He gets into opposite lock. He runs right over the curb, and that's what caused his accident. This rear left wheel was categorically on the duct, not on the curb. He had gone right over the curb. The car probably was half on the air because there's so little ground clearance that the tires weren't getting onto the road surface or even the duct. So that's a fairly big accident. You're looking at all the oil and water that comes out naturally from all of the tanks and pipelines that are wrenched and tortured and ruptured after an accident of that kind. He was perfectly all right, incidentally, if we haven't clarified that to you. He jumped over the wall very agilely without any trouble. There may still be a few seconds of practice left, but it may be terminated altogether. In fact, practice is over 1 minute early. We'll hear confirmation of that from the control tower because Nigel Mansell, in fact, was waiting on the line to try and get out when the red flag was shown. There you see that debris lying there, and that car will take a lot of fixing, Murray.
Indeed it will, and so will the course, and that's why practice has been stopped 24 seconds early, to be absolutely pedantic about it. And there's no way I can see that the practice will be restarted for the sake of 24 seconds with broken cameras hanging, with oil all over the circuit, with a broken car to be retrieved.